Motivation Initiative, in brief, MFMI. Yesterday we had a very good ice-breaking session in Hotel Radisson, and that set the scene for today's workshop. It's my honor and privilege to introduce the chair and co-chair. We are very much honored that the Principal Coordinator, Sustainable Development Board, the Prime Minister's Office, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, Mr. Abul Kalam Azad, is the chair of this session. You all know that Mr. Abul Kalam Azad had been a public servant and for 40 years, and he has put in his mark every place that he served. He is still continuing to give service to the nation in the capacity of the Principal Coordinator, Sustainable Development Goals. So today he is going to chair this session, and we are also honored to have Professor Jeff Stokes, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research, RMIT University, Melbourne, Australia. We'd like to extend our special thanks to him for taking all that trouble and traveling to Bangladesh for the first time and inspiring us on this noble cause. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to introduce ourselves later. Now, just for your information, this session will be jointly facilitated by me. I'm Major General Shafiqur Rahman, working in the Prime Minister's Office, and also Professor Shahadat Khan from RMIT University, who is the Global Coordinator for MFMI. So I will hand over the microphone to Professor Shahadat Khan.
Thank you. I think I'll be requesting all of you to stand up. So, can I ask the audience, and thank you very much, General Shafiq. We want to pay respect to our great father nation, Bangladesh, Sheikh Rahman, and all the martyrs of our liberation war, plus all the people lost their lives while fighting overseas, which were migrant workers. So we will be taking again a silence in honor of this.
The time begins. Thank you. Principal Coordinator for the SDG Affairs to make his opening speech.
Professor Jeff, dear participants, good morning. This is really an honor and very good opportunity to hold this international event for the migrants. We all know 10 million migrants of Bangladesh working around the globe, but especially in the southeastern part and also Middle Eastern countries. These 10 million people, they used to contribute yearly on an average $15 billion. Our FDI is something above 2 billion. So sevenfold. What not we are doing for increasing the FDI? how many steps has been taken, how do you take care, how to increase the ATI. Discussion with the family of the migrants, how they are doing, how they are using their money, what's about the education of their children, their health, social conditions and all this. I take myself core group from where we can start. Though, as a research work, you have started working, and also how to scale this up. And with my request, you have started also looking in the origin, that is now the fund originates in Singapore, Malaysia, in Middle East and all these countries. How they are doing there. So with these two, the migrant worker, how he is living, and also how he is doing his family in country, this gives a whole picture. I think this will be a very good opportunity to showcase this event, that how we are dealing with the welfare of the family of migrants. So a productive hours, next 2-3 hours we will do. My very sincere thanks to Mr. Jeff. I heard from our colleague that when he raised this issue, that we are going to hold one discussion workshop, he could not complete his words. He could not complete his words. Jeff told, yes, I will. He thought that yes, he is trying to propose that whether he will go. So this shows his eagerness, and also our very good young lady, Ms. Shukriya. She is also very interested to join this event, and we are grateful with both of your participation. Also colleagues from different districts, also colleagues from other universities in Australia. I think together we can achieve more. Thank you very much.
Target teacher and I don't speak honestly, so I will just don't say things and if we do different words again. So just we had a introduction last evening, but we have now a distinguished addition to the team. So I would like to, the commissioner chair, I would like to have you introduce what it is. So we start from possibly here, but let me just break this very point. We introduce ourselves in the official capacity and anything to do with the migrants or particular migrant community, but should be limited to one.
Thank you. I'm Numita, overseas permanent role. Thank you.
My name is Shukriya Singh. I'm a professor at RMIT, and we've been in this project together since the beginning. My interest in this is to see how the women who are here, mainly heading the households of the migrants, how they can be empowered.
Good morning. My name is Shams Raman, and I'm with RMIT University, and I'm a professor of supply chain management. And I believe that this particular project has got a lot to do with supply chain management. And we would like to hear more about that in the conversation. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Mohammed Azharullah. I'm working as the Additional Secretary at the Ministry of Expatriates Welfare and Overseas Employment. Well, I have some points to say, but I will do it probably in the course of discussion later. But I'm looking after the welfare wing of the ministry, mission and welfare, and I know more than anyone in the ministry what sort of welfare need, welfare activities the migrant needs actually. Globally, we always talk about the protection of our migrants, but locally, migrants' families also need protection, which is not ignored. And our respected principal coordinators already mentioned that migrant family welfare is not attended
morning. This is Mohammed Mukammal Hussain. I'm a Joint Secretary, Government of Bangladesh, presently working at the Prime Minister's Office with Principal Coordinator of Sustainable Development Goals. I had the opportunity to work with migrant workers. I was posted in Jeddah as a councillor labor, so I had the opportunity to look into the welfare issues of the workers there. So I think it will be a very good session for me to learn about the welfare issues in Bangladesh. Thank you very much.
Good morning, sir. This is Sir Paralasan, Joint Secretary, Minister of Home Affairs. Previously, I was working as Deputy Commissioner at Kustia. I had a little bit of experience to work with the migrant peoples when I was DC in Kustia. I actually initiated this issue especially in Kuksha Upazila, and then we, with the help of my UNO Rebecca Khan, now she is working as additional deputy commissioner in Asbari. And at that time, we saw different types of problems what our migrant peoples are facing, and we tried our level best to directly make a communication with them and two-way channel. We are maintaining always a two-way channel, and that way we build a confidence level to the migrant peoples so that they are frequently coming to the administration with their problems, and we try our level best to solve that problem also.
We will give all the deputy commissioners working with me for the last 4 years different topics. So just an introduction, brief introduction, and then we go. So you will have another opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Assalamualaikum, sir. This is Mohammed Shaul Ali, Deputy Commissioner, Rajbari. By this time, we are working with migrant feminist motivation initiatives, and we have already selected Balik and Upazila as our working area. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. This is Rebecca Khan. I'm working as ADC Rajbari. Previously, I was the UNO of Koksha Upazila, Kustia, and I am with this program on MFMI since last 3 years. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. This is Mehdi Mahmoud, Deputy Secretary, Finance Division, under Ministry of Finance. Actually, I engaged with this team for the last 3 years. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. This is Masum Reza, Upazila Delivery Officer, Baliakandi Rajbari. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Jibur Rahman Siddiqui from Singapore. Thank you.
Last.
Mass meeting, greetings, and so on. Thank you. I hope today will be a fruitful day. Thank you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum and very good morning. My name is Mohammad Khalilur Rahman. I'm Deputy Commissioner and District Magistrate of Malaysia. Actually, we the Malaysian team selected for Upazila for the program, and we are working for this program for last 1 year. Thank you very much.
Good morning. This is Subhash Chandra Bishar, Deputy Commissioner Norshindi. We know with the shift of development administration, that is paradigm shift of development administration, Deputy Commissioner facilitated all kinds of development activities taken by the government and other organizations at the district level. So I firmly believe any kind of development activities taken by the MFMI will also be very result oriented with the very involvement of district administration. Thank you all.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Dr. Jawahar Mohammed Mainkubi, Deputy Commissioner District Magistrate, Gazipur. Few years back, Bangladesh government has taken initiatives for low-cost migration to Malaysia and Hong Kong. I was closely involved with that. That was a very fantastic event. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum and very good morning. My name is Shafiqul Islam, Joint Secretary, the Foreigners Welfare Board, the Ministry of Experience Welfare and Overseas Employment. My organization is looking after the welfare of the migrant and their family as well. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning.
This is Shalim Reza, Director General Bureau of Employment and Training under the Ministry of Expected Welfare and Overseas Employment. The main responsibility of my organization is the management of migration and the skill development for both home and abroad, focus on overseas employment. And another responsibility is for the welfare, look after the welfare of the migrant workers. But we have done very little for the migrant family. And this project will help us a lot. I believe and I am confident that. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Kamrul Alam from Monash Business School. I joined this very innovative initiative taken by Dr. Khan. My interest in joining this project is to see how the collaborative financial inclusive model can be developed for small business development with the migrant remittances of families. And we support local administration, elected representatives, and the migrant families can be part of that initiative. So that's my question.
Well, in the crew, my name is Shahad Khan, and I'm almost known to everyone that we jointly started this initiative. This is an initiative. Thank you. Saying this is a project, but it's yet to be a project. It's an initiative. There's a great number of people in everyone and finally gets approved and instituted.
We'll go back. I already introduced myself. I am Major General Shafiqur Rahman, working in the Prime Minister's office. Some of you were not there yesterday, so you might be contemplating why this program is out there in the floor. You know that Bangladesh formal forces, that include the armed forces and the Bangladesh police, have a lot of migrant in the form of international peacekeepers and also under some bilateral protocol with some government. We have more than 5,000 migrant workers, skilled workers working in Kuwait, Qatar and other countries. So my interest initially was to also look at how the formal forces migrate and they behave and what is the usage pattern of their remittance. And you know that formal forces, because of some organizational setup and other things, can create some example in certain sector. So that's why I got involved since for 3 years I was working on this project. So hope to have more interaction. Thank you.
Good morning all, my name is Rashidul Alam. I came from Melbourne at the request of Dr. Khan, and I'm working in the hospital as a information security and infrastructure engineer. So I'm actually looking forward in the cyberspace, see what we can do and learn about the research opportunity here. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. I'm Tariq Islam. I'm Director General, Consular and Welfare. So as an officer of the Foreign Ministry, I had the opportunity to work abroad in our different consular posts. So I had the opportunity to understand the problems of the migrant workers and their need and their expectations. I think I am very much fascinated with this seminar, and particularly because I belong to a migrant family. 2 of my brothers, they are migrant workers. They are professionals working abroad. So I think this seminar will offer an expansive, vast opportunity to discuss the very relevant and very important issue. So I look forward to hearing particularly about the skill development of the migrant family members back in Bangladesh, because there lies a lot of opportunity for them to utilize the remittance that they receive. And I believe particularly that most part of the remittance, sometimes it is not properly utilized. And apart from that, I expect from the local administration that the remittance, remittance received, that when the beneficiaries of remittance in the local level, there should be enough interfaces, and maybe under the leadership of local administration, there may be creation of cells which will look after providing enough support, and which will be a point of exchange of information and opinion between the migrant workers, families, and the administration itself, as well as to redress their various apprehensions, their various, grievances and problems. Thank you very much.
I apologize for a few things. One, the setup and everything, if you see something good, it's all goes to him. If something is bad, all goes to him. Second, Chairman, when I had a meeting with him, he said, both of us, we made timely schedule, how do you manage it? And then he said, you are from overseas, take the wheel, stop it. See, if I'm doing something, I'm doing it on behalf of the chairman. We are going to time sheet.
I have the approval.
Thank you so much.
Coffee outside. As you've seen that we'll be serving early lunch at 12. So only some light snacks are placed on the table, but if you have the urge to have tea or coffee, you can quietly go out and satisfy yourself. But so that's only a housekeeping issue. Now I'll move on to the short presentation on the migrant family motivation issue. I've set the context first. You all have already heard that we have estimated 10 million international migrant workers working all around the globe. And the annual remittance accounts for 14 billion by formal channels and 16 billion by informal channels. So only the formal remittance stand for 7 times of the official development assistance, which accounts for 7% of the GDP. But interestingly enough, this huge flow of foreign fund that mostly covers the day-to-day family expenditure of the migrant family, and also it creates some high remittance dependency. And the byproduct is the less motivation for work and resulting in some unemployment. We have also observed that the migrant families also gradually get involved in the extravagant social spending, which accounts for 11% of the remittance. And even in the military migrant, we have seen only they are focused for buying land, plot, luxury items and all this. Unfortunate, but it's fact that only 4.5% of the total remittance is invested for family business or small business development. Already you have heard that the contribution of the migrant remittance to our GDP and the development is huge, but we are yet to have effective policy and practice in this space. The present government set up the Ministry of Expatriate Welfare, and now there are some direction with the leadership given by this ministry under the overall leadership of our government. The Migrant Family Motivation Initiative focuses on enhanced usage of remittances by grassroots level migrant remittance recipients, and expected impact is more remittance, especially more formal remittance, and overall development of the country. Now, just I'll draw your attention how a migrant worker transforms. He usually makes his voyage with a very, very high, very elated dream of changing from one social class to other. And as they try to climb the ladder, only few become successful and most of them are drop out. And you see the difference. The migrant workers whom we are talking about, they remit major portion of their income to back home, and they compromise their own lifestyle in the places of residence where they work, and they face a lot of issues like implicit contractual agreement and many other problems in the country where they work, but still they sacrifice their life for sending the currency, which is we call currency of care and relationship. We are talking about the migrant workers. I'll just ask you to take a look. They're the marginal migrant workers. We are not talking about the migrant who are highly skilled, highly educated, living in Europe or USA, actually they do something reverse. So these are the glimpses of the marginal migrant worker. They risk their life to establish themselves as a migrant worker with minimal skill. We are also talking about the families of these marginal migrant workers. They are living back in Bangladesh, and we really have something to do in this field. I draw your attention on the next slide, the iceberg related to migration. Above the surface, we only see something very, very exciting: luxury housing, extravagant festival expenditures, consumption, and some inflated earning scenario. But you see behind below the surface, there are untold stories, goes on and goes on. The families are disintegrated, lack of parental support for the growing children, prolonged separation from the spouse, and it has many consequences. Dependence on the migrant remittance and chronic unemployment back home, miserable life of the returnees. There are many stories around, and these are all self-explanatory, so you can just have a look. The research area or approach, definitely Professor Khan will seek your suggestions. We'll be actually looking at the remittance value chain, the consultative and inclusive governance, which we can put in relation to the migrants, then community engagements for the marginal migrant families, and also the migrant themselves, and entrepreneurship, that is employment creation and women empowerment. We are just sharing an idea what Bangladesh government, RMIT, Monash, Dhaka University can collectively do in this regard. But there are challenges. How to divert this informal remittance to the formal channels. How to increase the business investment using remittance income. And how to link remittance capital with women empowerment. There are many other issues, but these are the major challenges that we are actually looking at. Just to give some background, the beginning was in 2012 and 11, when there was a study on migrant remittance support and micro enterprise development in Bangladesh. And the study was conducted by Professor Khan and identified certain things like lack of information, lack of commitment, the institutional capacity, lack of service delivery, lack of skill and skill development, lack of women empowerment, and overall the scarcity of capital for the micro business development in the rural areas. Moving back to the current issue, the Migrant Family Motivation Initiative, in short MFMI, this is actually an inclusive governance approach towards connecting the rural community, that's migrant workers' families, with the local government, establishing direct linkages for more productive usage of migrant remittances, that is awareness of various issues related to remittances, development of small and micro businesses that will otherwise create employment, lessening the dependency on the remittance income, and also empowering the women. The conceptual model for the MFMI that you can look at, the phases, phase 1, 2, and 3, the expected outcome, and the combined impact. We are now actually in phase 1, that is the awareness and motivation campaign. Just another inclusive governance approach model. It's also self-explanatory. we have the MFI leaders implementing this, documenting the impacts and challenges. We have the support group from Australia, and also the stakeholders. Let's see what come up from this model. Some example of MFI, I'll quickly go. The idea, what happened till now. The first one is the idea exchange meeting. It was held in December 2014, in January 2014. And then idea exchange meeting with the defense services, formal forces, migrants, spouses in Dhaka cantonment. Some awareness campaign. Upazila level idea exchange meetings with the 300 plus migrant workers, family members. Awareness campaign in other places, Koksha, Malikan, Rajbari and Momin Singh. Then Upazila chairman and EON meeting with members of the migrant workers and in the ER meeting. And some of the reflections from the district administration who were involved in the MFMI activity. Some of that, these are the reflections from the state deputy commissioners. I'll read out some of it for you. Significantly important program after joining as a deputy commissioner. Hard-earned remittance also greatly contributes to Bangladesh economy. Still, recipients have no recognition from us. Hardly anyone thought about the migrant workers and their family members. Need to motivate the migrant workers to get more remittance via formal channels. Some feedback from the discussion forums with Upazila officials by UNO. Must communicate with proper respect and with the guidance. Be well replied. Never ask how much money or by what channel they receive the money. Explain thoroughly what can be done or what he or she needs to, where he or she needs to go, something like that. Then some reflection from the migrant families you can go through. These are very common experiences. Sometimes due to ignorance of what facilities are available from the government agencies. Some of the examples from the feedback from the migrant family, from the father, from the mother-in-law, husband of a female migrant worker, wife of a migrant. Even there are information gap between the financial institutions and also the migrants and migrant workers' families. Some final conclusion, we need to educate and provide support for better utilization of the remittance capital. Local administration can play a vital role in reducing the gaps and barriers between the recipients and the financial institutions. They can also play an effective role in enhancing existing poverty alleviation services available to migrant remittance recipient families. And our collective effort has the potential to make a real difference in making our country's overall development. And almost the second last slide. What's there in for the different stakeholders from the Bangladesh government? Definitely is going to complement the sustainable development goal and other issues. And we are now in the pilot project, and then once it is scaled up, it can be scaled up to the nationally in all the Gujarats, also maybe globally in other countries if it's successful in Bangladesh. Then for our overseas partners and university partners, it's a research with a social impact and global engagement through internationalizing of the vocational education. partner in poverty alleviation of the developing countries. And these are the discussion issues from our experiences. What logical thing we we want to do in this space? What are the possible interventions? And who could we approach, externally and internally? That my last slide, and thank you very much for your patience. Thank you. Over to Professor Khan.
But when you sent for printing in the last moment, they printed it wrongly. So what I'll do, I'll share with you the real version, which is the landscape version, not this version. And also, from the initiative we took in 2010, we had a book chapter published by the government of Macmillan, UK, and so far we have researched for an opportunity to study this. We have few papers coming in. It's also included. Then a writing pad and a few small notes from MIT. Now, may I request Dr. Nomita Haldar, Secretary of Executive Ministry, to say a few words on this. Thank you.
Sometimes overseas, sometimes at home. So some sort of connection I made with this issue. And now I am very much involved directly this migration issue. Last week we had the meeting with the Parliamentary Standing Committee, and there we found it's a bleak picture for the migrant families. Those are not helped by our law and order. People, those who are involved in here. Particularly in Sylhet, the Parliamentary Standing Committee chair was complaining that he used to receive so many complaints every night that migrants' families are so helpless. And what we found that they are building homes. Every time our DGSSFE mentioned about that, they are luxury, they are putting their investment into luxury item like buildings, like homes, but not any other investment like how the country can be improved. So in Sylhet area, I also found that they are building houses, at the same time the agricultural lands remain fallow. So these are the areas that we can take care of. And also our wage earners, the welfare fund, we have a fund here in our ministry. Every time what we do, those are in trouble. Like when someone is dead, we receive the dead body with a remuneration, like 3 lakhs taka and 35,000 taka on the spot, and afterwards the family is given 3 lakhs taka. So these sort of welfare funds are available from our ministry. But this is, this is not a permanent solution or permanent mechanism to help the migrant families. So I think there should be some mechanisms from this workshop. Some proposals will be coming out so that we can take some of those from so that we can address from our ministry's platform what we can do for the migrant families. And also, migrant families sometimes, they don't come forward what sort of help they need. It is all about, sometimes they hide because they have some weaknesses as well. So these are the areas, I think, some of the areas we need to explore, where we can intervene, where we cannot. So I think there would be some mechanisms and some proposals would come out from this workshop, from this seminar, and I'm hoping to address those. Thank you.
Khan, Honorable Chair, Professor Jeff Stoke, and participants from overseas universities and local government officials. Thank you so much. As Dr. Khan has mentioned, that I'm not really the official representative of the school. However, since the Caroline Chan is not here, so I'm on behalf of her saying something about our school. The very first point in terms of research that Major General Shafiq Rahman has mentioned in one of his slides, that remittance value chain is an important area for doing research. And here we are coming from a school which deals with a major area is in supply chain management or value chain management. From that perspective, of course, this is a very much relevant topic, and we are very relevant in order to expedite the process from our school perspective. However, I must say that although our school, it was initiated, but as you can see that Professor Stoke, Professor Sukhbir Singh, Professor Abdul Alam, and of course Shahid Khan all are involved from various different universities in this particular project. And of course, the local government officials here are involved in this. How is the deliver of the program in logistics and supply chain? We have got a very stable and a long-standing undergrad program which is well over 30 years in offering, not only in Melbourne, where we are located, but also in places like Shanghai with one of the universities over there, which is called SUIBI. We are offering in Singapore with SIM, Singapore Institute of Management. We are in the process of offering our degrees in Indonesia as well. However, I must emphasize that we do have an institute or part of our university in Vietnam, where we offer our program both in Ho Chi Minh City as well as Hanoi. And these programs are very viable and have made a lot of ground in various parts of the world. We do have a center of our business college in Barcelona. Of course, there's a lot of turmoil is going on right now, but we hope that we continue having that in spite of the political turmoils in that part of the world. Having said this, the brief introduction, how I see personally that how your project is related to the discipline is that transparency is a very important aspect. So the transparency of the value chain is critical. Also, as you all know that when our folks send their money from overseas, they send on a very, sometime just before the festive seasons. And therefore, during that time, they believe that the money should reach their family as soon as possible. So the agility of the remittance value chain is a vital to the family and the sender of the money, I believe. So, and as we can minimize using the technology, minimize the phases and the obstruction over the value chain, obviously it will add more value to the system. And therefore, we believe that
the approach that the government usually asks why do you do it. So,
Center one for going forward. Thank you for all coming here today. It's a pleasure to see you. Before I go through this, I'd just like to pick up a couple of points that were made in some of the earlier discussions. It seems to be difficult to anyway, don't look at that, just listen to me for a moment. What was mentioned by the principal coordinator was that eyes have been opened and there was a need for some kind of paradigm shift. And I recall that Shahbat mentioned my early interest was to do with citizenship. So the question for me, coming out of politics and policy, is what does it mean to be a Bangladeshi citizen when the citizens are spread across the globe? And the fact that you set up a new ministry is a a very important extension of the idea of citizenship. Usually we think of citizenship in terms of politics and voting. There's also social citizenship, public welfare. The law ministry extends it to another country. There's also economic citizenship and environmental citizenship. Now, that might sound very basic, but it seems to me the rationale for doing this is, what does it mean to be a Bangladeshi citizen when you spend so much part of your life overseas, working so hard to return money back? Now, the next point that was made was that a holistic approach was needed, and I think citizenship provides that. A holistic approach means you set up a ministry. It also means, say, for the Department of Foreign Affairs, that overseas citizens are not just consular issues. They're to do with what a citizen needs and requires when they're overseas, which requires something more than just the concept of consular citizenship. If we go to the banks, and we think of the value chain that was mentioned before, the banks are dealing with your citizens. They're not just customers. They're very important citizens. So therefore, perhaps some of the banks need to change their approaches to how they deal with it, such that when we talk about a value chain, we're not talking about just increasing value. We need to look at how value is devalued along the way and how we can retain that value. So if we take it holistically from a citizenship perspective, you get a whole different perspective on why we should be doing this. So that's my little pep talk from the beginning, and now I'll do what Charlotte wants me to do, which is to go through and talk about this. So, we have a problem, some of which we've talked about before, to do with the productivity, some of which to do with welfare. We need to think about the sorts of interventions
through, and I have writers here. I'm going through not each of the activities, as long as the time permits, and then we'll stop. But I'll be picking up a few of the activities. Now,
Dear participants, actually, with the request of Khan, we conducted series of meetings at the grassroots level of Upazila Koksha, and most of the meeting I were present there, and all the migrants, workers and their family, they were present there. We just took feedbacks from the migrant worker families, what their facings and what their suggestions to improve their livelihood. I just tell one thing to you. One of the Uthan Bajak, one of the father of the migrant families, told me that he sold all his property, even the daily earning source of his cattle, to send his son to Saudi Arabia, and given Taka 6 lakhs to a broker. The broker promised him he will send his son to Saudi Arabia within 3 months. But after passing the 3 months, he did not send his son. Moreover, fraudulently complained to me, and instantly I suggested my UNO to solve the problem. And later on, UNO Koksha, he will manage the meeting with the both parties at his office, and instantly, in presence of UNO, the broker bound to give back the money, 3 lakhs, instantly in presence of UNO to the migrant worker. So I think in that case, from that moment, the confidence of the migrant worker and their families increased, and frequently they came to the official office, to my UNO or other officials who are looking
feedbacks from the migrant family members. And from this, in these issues, many of the migrant family members suggested that they should meet not quarterly, but after 6 months, twice a year, we can meet.
Thank you, Gati. Upajala administration, we are getting suggestions that twice a year we do.
Be able to report what the impact is from the perspective of the officials to the ministry and see what progress has been made. But I think one of the major resource and research imperatives, and particularly when the government is trying to give evidence that the sustainable development goals have been reached, we need the voice of the migrant families. We need to know how these initiatives have helped or not helped the migrant families. And so that requires sustained ethnographic work. And we are hoping that with your help and with a lot of the very notable academics in Bangladesh, particularly on women's empowerment, we can have some rigorous research that continues over a fair period of time. And that will be evidence-based policy for you and for you to be able to say what else requires to be done. We need not just the congratulatory message, we need the negative cases also.
Thank you, Professor Singh.
Uttar budget is an effective tool, I think. And you have also seen at Padek and the Upajala that we have arranged several Uttar budgets and meeting. But Uttar budget, we are giving the.
Just say that how can we do it? We have done it, but how can we go for each? Because in the Palia country, for example,
I have got the point.
We have to reach each family.
In the Upajala level, we are working with the local government representatives and local government institutions. So we can arrange the Uttar budget by the help of union council and with the elected representatives.
Yeah, Professor Alum.
Not in the all district, but at present we have 42 districts we have the office, and you can also involve them in the Uttar project, and it will be very effective.
Thank you. I mean, as I said, As I said that we are really taking your ideas. Then we will be going with a viability question. For NGOs, we have a little observation from government side that we actually confined and we found that public officials are extremely skillful to reach them. NGOs, we keep in a bit of second row whether we'll be involved in them. But thank you for the suggestion. Yes, please. Kuman Kovid, thank you.
No, that NGO only particularly, there are some NGOs, particularly they are working
for the workers.
For the migrant workers.
We will contact you to know the details. Thank you.
I am waiting for that.
Okay,
They are working with us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Especially the year meeting is a new bottom-up approach for the implementing any program. Especially the migrant workers going to abroad, they sell land. After coming with money, they buy land. So on behalf of the Deputy Commissioner, concerned ULO Union Land Officer will be our focal point from the Deputy Commissioners to conduct the year meeting. So it will be very good.
Other
So
than
your
that,
suggestion is
ULO should be the focal point.
ULO.
ULO.
Naib or Tofilda.
Okay, all right, okay. ULO. Yes, please, yes.
Regarding the Bhutan, I would say that every month, Deputy Commissioner may go to the Bhutan and the focal point. He or she can go to the forum every week event. He or she is very much vigilant about his locality, and these two people are very much trustful to the people. I would say that if they would visit the place frequently, in each problem they can share with the.
Thank you. I got it. Yeah, because we are going to just on that. How can we do? How can we do not beyond that?
Students, they are organizing a team, and every week they set together. They are looking after against the child marriage and drugs and etc. I think it's a very good model. If you involve the young force, the youths, to organize these things, it will be helpful, and they could be used for this type of yard meeting and politics.
Thank you.
And also you can involve the returning migrant.
All right, thank
you. Returning migrant. They have the experience.
Yes. Thank you.
So I just want to share my observations. So I'm not very much sure whether the Udhan Boytov is the only interface or only platform through which we are disseminating the information. We are encouraging people to make proper investment of the foreign remittance. I think when it comes to the question of utilization of foreign remittances, so there should be also the necessity to have some expert knowledge that how, because it is a question of investment of the recipients. Most of them are uneducated rural women or rural men. So whether there is discussion, there should be discussion along with the recipients, even other the social stakeholders, I mean the other community members, so that the idea is properly disseminated among the people, and whether we can chalk out a very, I think, effective course of action.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have to offer Australia federal government has a very effective.
We are not here to follow any kind of mythology. We want to know what will work at the local level and how we can replicate it and make it sustainable across the country. Thank you very much.
Now, Professor Kamrul Alam, please make your
Thank you. Were discussed, but I think we need to be very careful in prioritizing our focus, as this is a very ground up, micro level initiative. First of all, I think we know that lots of small businesses are being supported, sponsored by different NGOs, but this approach is based on capital that is already available. The people receive remittance, a small capital. So we are trying to focus how this can be productively used for future sustainable income generating venture. So the other thing is we might return migrants. From the interviews at different Bhutan Boytov, we found that some, we don't know the percentage yet, but we'll have to find out a large percentage of return migrants come back with no money in hand. The money they spend, 10, 12 lakhs taka, they can earn that, but they are, in that case, they are actually spending their capital without any gain. So some policy initiatives should be in place to manage and support this return migrant workers. Then I think the other issue that created an environment and created a new interface between local administration and the people, recipient families, and the elected bodies. So it's a bottom-up collective governance mechanism with a focus to have
inclusive financial involvement of the people living at the bottom of the pyramid. So, and I think what we have found from this pilot studies that we think that a social capital needs to be developed, and the emergence of social capital through these networks is evolving. So how we can nourish them, enhance them, and as Professor Jeff Stowe very nicely mentioned, that intervention is important. Intervention, without intervention, as Mr. Rajat mentioned, we need a collective, participatory involvement of important stakeholders. The selecting stakeholders who will support this initiative is very important. My last and final word that I must salute in front of this participants the commendable task and initiative that Dr. Khan has initiated. I think I was not involved from the very beginning, but after a year when Ella, my fellows went to Melbourne, he explained this project. I found it extremely innovative, very people-centric, and thank you, Dr. Khan, for, and this is what we see, it is evolving, and I believe collectively we will do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm overwhelmed. As I said that we did it, not I did it. So it goes to everyone. Thank you. Now with Professor Jeffrey Stokes coming to Australia, and he asked, coming to Australia, coming to Bangladesh, sorry, Jeff, and he first asked me, can you tell me your cultural side, should we take some gift? And I said,
issue. In our country, we don't take lunch so early except the military. Our soldiers take lunch at 12. But I know you have to rush early in the morning and information here, many things. But one important issue is the creation of trust. The migrant family living in Bangladesh, the marginal migrant families, and also the migrant workers. Once we have this project, if they have a belief, they have a trust that yes, government have not excluded them from its rider, and they are being going to look after any problem reported to any of the fora will be looked into. This trust definitely will attract many other migrant families and migrant workers to look at the government assistance. So we have many things in our basket. People need land resources. So this seminar is partly to do with that. Okay, so this remittance dependency syndrome. So we're mostly putting it into citizens, and it might actually have problems for the whole country where so much money comes in and is spent in what could be called unproductive ways that brings on great inflation. Yes. They're often excluded, and as you've seen before, Bangladeshi citizens use the informal channels for remittances. You get their custody at the time. So, what is it the intervention is required? We need to think about all of the range of the issues and how we might deal with it. As I said, you've already started in that area. But we need to reach the migrant workers and their families. We need to find out ways in which we can contact people who are not usually in everyday touch with, say, the outside world or important figures of government. And we're going to keep going because clearly this is moving ahead. So the solutions. If we improve how we deal with that problem, we can increase the adaptive capacity of the people in the country, the citizens of the country, both here and overseas. And the benefits are immense. They can benefit over 54 million people, a huge proportion of the population in this country. And a key part of it is the sector of that population who are women, who are often disenfranchised financially and who need to be included. So, just need to start this.
seeing a Shahadat a good central role. There's been a grassroots level study of migrant remittance support by pro-enterprises, and you've got a copy of that here. There have been focus group meetings with people. The issue there is we don't often know what the whole range of problems are that confront people at home and abroad. We think a positive psychological impact, enhancing the capability of recipient families, creating a support network for developing sustainable social capital. Sure, you might retain the money, but then what do you do with it? How best do you retain the value of the freedom? Then there is enhancing awareness and of the human capital of remittance recipient families. How will they begin businesses if that's indeed what we want to do? And finally, how do you convert micro remittance income to small capital? All of these are questions that require a holistic approach. So in 2017, a number of activities have been planned. It doesn't want to stop now. Yep. Oh, okay. So, a number of activities are being planned at the local level, and the principal coordinator of Sustainable Development Goals, Mr. Abdul Kalam Azad, has expressed great interest in this. Clearly, the PowerPoint presentation is taking no interest in mine. But Australia does have some experience in these sorts of areas, so it's in this program. There's a model for how we can train people to think about developing businesses. And all of these activities have been supported by district administration and the coordinated visits of Shahadat Khan, who are either supported by his own private funders or RMIT or Monash University. Now we'll return to what the PowerPoint presentation clearly wants us to do, is move to Shahadat's discussion of MFMI activities.
Now, Mr. Khan.
Actually, the credit goes to the district administrations who work with me, and I work with them very closely. So, we're fortunate to have few dedicated people who actually did the job beyond their work model, beyond their work schedule. But
something about this before going this share about my machine. We know that my machine is one of the 16 old districts of Bangladesh, which was constituted by the British East India Company on 1st May 1787. There are 13 sub-districts in my machine who have selected Fulful Upazila for this program. And there are 1,500 migrant workers working overseas from this Upazila. Most of the workers are working in the Middle Eastern countries. And formal remittances from migrant workers is estimated at $10 million US. We have conducted yard meeting at Fulful Upazila. Basically, I conducted several initiatives such as focus group meeting, and there is another meeting with the Upazila level officials as well as the public representative. But at Bhutan Boito, my colleague, ADCW, Mr. Galib Khan, presented there, and he shared everything. I think that it is better to allow.
Thank you. Thank you. Just half a minute, a feedback from migrant.
I'm just sharing my experience. Number of year meeting has been conducted at different unions of Shivala Upazila, also as well as in Fulful Upazila. When we want to hear the voice of the families, they became burst into tears. In both the Upazila, I found the same. They want to tell their problem, what are the stories of their life, like of the stories of their sons and daughters who are working overseas. So, one of the migrant workers or facilitators, where you were presented the matter in Shivalo, Upajala, she was beaten also. She was harassed by, her master overseas. So we also see that when Major General Sir was presented under the ice bar, what was going on. We
Thank you,
felt it.
Thank you. We will be afraid. We will just be on the point. Thank you. I'm just giving a little bit of the activities we are doing here. We have home country motivation event. We have two kinds. One is directly involving migrant families, where Provashi Prashashan Moto Binimoy, for non-Bengali speakers here, this is expatriate idea exchange meeting with administration. The first one on my left. And I know that district administration is a regular public that Upajala level we do. Stock take of migrant families. We respectfully remember that expatriate ministry has a good day administration or select Upajala administration. They contact them during festivals, during national, to recognize their contribution to the country, just as greetings or a bit of Upajala. We have our own database which each counted each migrant or each migrant families, regardless of their channel of remittances. Then you have services, and they use services in the exchange of money. And I don't know whether they have taken the approval or the deputy commissioners or the approvers, but they get 10%.
Thank you very much for Professor Shalat Khan. During the last 5 months, that is in my tenure as husband, you have visited 2 camps in our area. And you have approached me to concentrate my attention in this regard, and I assure you that I will work in this program. We arranged several times meeting in Upajala level and also the Uthan post office, which was held in the Union Porishad level. And we have identified several problems. In the meeting, we have seen the most of the migrant families were not in touch with the district and Upajala administration, and also with the local government representatives. And most of the Upajala officials were almost unaware about them. We have identified the problems such as significant amount of remittances are coming through informal channel sent by marginal migrants. Maximum portion of remittance have been utilized in family expenditure. Dependency on migrant remittance, and most of the cases, no income generating activities is growing. Lack of awareness or skills how to utilize the remittance. Some migrants are facing a lot of trouble in connection with work permit, and some are coming back to home. Rajbari district, and we have found almost 2,000 families are available in Bali County, Upajala. And this database are under process to preserve in the Union Digital Center and as well as in the UNO office. And as a recognition of remittance by the migrant families, the families will be invited to our national program, which will be arranged by district and Upajala administration. And they have been given suggestion to utilize the remittance in income generating activities. They have been also invited to come to the public hearings, which is held every Wednesday.
And so my time was 40 minutes, and I presented 20 minutes. First comment he made was great comment, and they said that all we are doing with the local Bangladesh-based, what about our migrant workers overseas? And I said that that opened my eyes as well, or our team's eyes. So on my way back to Melbourne, I stopped in Singapore, and I had a focus group meeting. So can I, because I want your views on this and then our feedback from that meeting. But if you just skip for a few minutes and then come back, then I go for some other things, and I'll come back to this one. Thank you. I know that Mr. Azad is a very important appointment to model on, because Uttar meeting we said it reach each migrant family. We thought, in consultation with all of you, that to use champions, because Rebecca, Khalil Rahman and Shaukat Ali, Bilal, they cannot go to every family. So we wanted to use Union Parishad members to train them and use them for Uttar meetings so that we can at least once in a year, we can reach them. So this is on the table for everyone to suggest. If you raise your hand, I can give you the floor 1 or 2 minutes. How to operationalize the Uttar meeting, that's the biggest operation we have in the moment. Uttar meeting is sitting with the migrant families. So raise your hand, anyone is to open the floor. Okay, please.
So if you want to make it regular, so my suggestion is that we have to use the local people, that's public representative, but that must be a tag of 1 or 2 government officials. So that will help us to make sure that Uttar meeting will be held on that so at a specific day. Otherwise, public representative, they have so many works, they are busy. So if we want to ensure it, then you have to engage 1 or 2 government officials at Upazila level. Even not only that, at Upazila level, it will not be possible. Then you can engage the officials who are engaged in union position. There is some officials that is from agriculture department, from youth.
So what you are saying, if I may, you were saying that there should be a competition more than $500,000 from IFAD. It didn't happen, but that was based on this training Bangladesh.
Remittance recipient families always talk about. And I think it is important to involve the specific district and sub-district level functional departments. We know which area has got potential for investment of different kinds. So that is one. The other thing is the complaints or issues that were raised before. We have to go to the next meeting with some sort of response to those complaints and challenges, because we have to create or increase awareness amongst the recipient families so that we can assess the impact as Professor Supriya said, how are you going to assess the impact? The number of complaints, issues they raise at different meetings. So we have to take those issues into account to make the mass meetings or earlier meetings more useful.
Thank you, sir. You will have an opportunity to wrap it up and pay thanks, so I stopped you there.
Where the women particularly were very forthright in talking about it. But I can see that in order for us to actually have some impact and for us to produce evidence that all of you at the ministry level can present at an international body, we have to have some rigorous reporting and noting of these meetings. At present, what we have is very high poor district officials holding the meetings, then sometimes late at night jotting down a few notes. Yeah. We have to actually have an account of the meeting, not just as minutes, but as an ethnographical report. And exactly like what Kamrul says, we will be able to chart whether there has been a difference in the awareness, a difference in the trust, and what this is due to. But as I said, in all of this, why you are doing this is because you want to capture the voices of the family members. And I think that requires rigorous, sustained ethnographic work. And maybe, Mr. Reza, we can use some of your offices over there. And we could use some of the cooperation through your ministry with academics already working on issues of financial inclusion, of empowerment, of, and what you said, effective use. Effective might mean very different things for different families. And already we know that the family members are putting in a lot of more money for health education, which is a major development activity for them. And I don't think we should, we have this discussion of Shada and I. We shouldn't always say that, buying land is bad. You and I, we all buy land. It's pretty good to have some land. What you don't want is to invite 15,000 people for your son's wedding. Maybe that's going a little bit far. But, and you should be able to think, one of the issues is the returning members. And they are very vocal, exactly like you said, as I think very good. What are they going to come back to?
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Singh. SDG may not come within the time frame we have. So let me just tell you the audience, and I think you should be here because you are representing PCSDG in Jibril Rahman is the president, or the ex-president of Bangladesh, Singapore Shamati, plus and she will have two hands. She's a and we were all tears because her mother lives, there's a lot of good things, 7 times, 8 times investment. Migration has a lot of bad things. And that particular, I was amazed that the Deputy Commissioner possibly know the case. So when we met this Singaporean 20 migrant workers in Singapore, which SBC has suggested, instead of me, I attended it.
Getting the less money home, and some of the welfare Dr. Khan explained to them, and understand they are not aware of it. So basically migrant workers, they want to have more awareness and more benefit from the home country like Singapore, like Bangladesh. And for the welfare wise, because we don't have the enough helping hand in overseas. As an example, one of the foreign workers, when he passed away, his dead body can't send back to Bangladesh because of there is no enough money to the foreign mission. Probably 1 year budget.
Can you speak up?
1 year, probably 1 year budget is 1 lakh taka. So I have an incident. One of the foreign workers passed away in the year 2011 or 12. So my commission or mission was approached to say how to send it. So we approached the Chinese people, those are doing the funeral service. So some of the people in Bangladesh, they say, why you approach Chinese to send the Muslim dead body to Bangladesh? I said, yeah, well, I don't have enough money, so what we can do, because mission can't help. So this is the things.
Thank you, Jingo. We are concentrating on.
We were not there, sir, so he was made to remain here and take notes of that. So we are on that. Overall, we are not running that much short of time. So almost closing before our the chair makes his closing speech. I'll invite now Professor Supriya Singh to make his closing remarks. Yeah.
Thank you. The only closing remark I do want to make is to thank all of you.
This is the sort of issue that attracts my attention because it emerges out of a certain problem and we haven't got a way of dealing with it. However, I'd like to make a few suggestions. So I think you need to think about the principles. So if you begin from the principles, you'll have a sense of what will be involved. So I think the first one is sustainability. Well, how is it going to be sustainable? How are you going to keep it going? The second one, and this emerged from discussions, is holistic. You've all talked a bit about the economy of business, but it's not just about the economy of business. So it needs to be holistic. It needs to be inclusive. And we originally talked about the home country, we're also talking about the host country now. We're talking about men and women. We're talking about the young and the old. So have a think about that. It needs to be staged as well. I don't think you can do everything at once. What's the priorities? And all this might be quite obvious to you. It needs to be based on feedback, evidence-based, research, what works, what doesn't work. There has to be some process of learning. There also needs to be accountability. All right, we raise people's expectations, and then we don't do anything for a while. People are not going to. It's the same anywhere in the world, doesn't it? It's universal. People will be disappointed. And finally, you talk about information, but actually it's communication. It's a communication plan. So these are the elements that need to be, the principles that need to be taken on board to go further. If you just buy bits and pieces, it might work. But if we have this larger view of what are the principles, then we have a greater chance of success. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Before I start my concluding remarks, is there anyone who wants to put 1-2 points, if you have very important, which you put up? Because we had this structured discussion, but I feel maybe some officer, some stakeholder, they might have some other points. If anyone. Very quick, without addressing.
How to reduce the number of broker in this manpower business?
Okay.
The presently government has taken so much initiatives to the life standard of the common people. So we can incorporate of the migrants worker family also.
Okay. Yes.
Sir, thank you, sir, for giving me the floor. Actually, this is regarding remittance. When I and Mr. Professor Sadat were
without joining, just point.
Sir, this is about the International Remittance Day, which is on 14th June. This is United Nations has declared 16th June, I think, is the International Remittance Day. We have no activities in our country. I think we should try to celebrate this one.
Okay. Any other? Yes.
Sir, there are some countries where the migrant workers are working.
I don't know whether someone took note of this.
I have no papers.
Excellent. Excellent. So we spent 2 hours and 15 minutes. The officials, do you feel that this is a productive session? Productive session. So how to take forward? Because Dr. Shahada, Professor Shahada, his team, yes, we all are member of the team. But this is basically the research work. He has some boundary, but you are boundaryless. Expatriate secretary, you have the opportunity to work in all these issues, not only the area which Professor Shahada described. So the cost of migration, the investment from the income of the migrant worker, and also the well-being of the migrant and also his or her family. So my request will be, you have some good officials, you have your additional secretary, your DG of PMEG. My request will be to form a few team, working team, you can tell working group, task force. Maybe you can include the officials, those who are working in the field, your officials in your ministry and other relevant ministry, like if you think that finance ministry, banking, health, or some other. So my request will be to form 2-3 working group, so that we can look into the, as Dr. Geoff is telling, that holistic approach we need to take, not only the area of the migrant family. And your timeline is 2 weeks. And maybe with the observations of these 2-3 working groups, if you feel we can have a national level consultation in a seminar or in a workshop whatsoever, and we want to start working very robustly. We need to have this safe money transfer, as discussed by DG, BMG, South Africa, and all over the world, how to make it very easy. And also how to raise the efficiency. And also, sometimes if they make hundi, they get more money. So can we put extra money for the migrant transfer of money? We can put extra 1-2%. Because we provide some of the incentives, those who export garments, export some products. So why we put this money? Because so that he feel encouraged. So if we can put some extra money for bringing this money in the legal channel. At the beginning of the session, we saw that 1.2 billion is our FDI and 16 billion yearly we are getting. But it might be more. It might be more in the informal channels. So if all this can be formalized, so no need of the bloody FDI. So your money can give you the strength to invest yourself for the big project like Padma Bridge, like nuclear power and all this. Already we have done 4 or 5. Okay, we've done 5. So rest 3 we have. In all the SDG dissemination workshop in the divisional level, we work for the entrepreneur development also. So this special area we can take into our working paper and request the deputy commissioner, so that when they will do in the districts, and also we will do special activities on entrepreneur development. So we take note of it, so that a special room will be there for the investment of the migrant workers' money. Finally, I thank the initiative, Dr. Professor Shahada, and also other team members, those who are with you, including me. Good work is being done. Also, Professor Kamrul Alam and our 2 good friends, Professor Jeff Strokes and Professor Shukriya Singh, for your contribution. Your presence encouraged us to work more seriously, and I think the last point I took note from Jeff, that we need to work holistic, and I believe our officials will take holistic part, including the specific part also. And I pay my sincere thanks to our DG SSF, Mr. Shafiq. He took a great interest of it. And this is some official responsibility, but again I tell from heart, as I was telling, that if you want to do something, you need to do from your heart. And I told you the story of commitment yesterday. I believe with all our efforts, we need to develop this country. The golden Bengal of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, steps taken by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. These activities will help immensely in developing Bangladesh. So we commit to have the middle income country by 2021, SDG as defined by 2030, by 2041 developed country, by 2071 100 years of Bangladesh, the golden Bengal. And also we have prepared our Delta Plan 2100. So I used to tell a country who can see 83 years from now, who is on earth to hinder its development? So we are committed to do this. Thank you again, the team over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming to our comments and honor you gave us. But we, RMIT, Monash University, and then my team, including my team members, are fully committed to partnering with Bangladesh government in any initiative, in any.
এইটার উপরে স্পেশাল গুরুত্ব আর কাজের টাকা কীভাবে ভালোভাবে এটা সবাই ইউজ করতে রাজি